It's amazing how much easier it is to wake up when your momentum is moving in the right direction. When your momentum is increasing its speed and moving in the right direction. So far this week, my nutrition has gotten better. The decision that I made last night of making another meal of ground beef, I was laying in bed this morning and I felt great. And then I kind of reflected on why I felt so great. And I was very content to have eaten the meal that I did. And it was kind of miraculous because it's so much easier to have gone to a restaurant and eaten a euro or whatever. So I'm very grateful to have eaten a healthy meal last night. I'm grateful to have pushed myself during my workout. I'm grateful to, despite the fact that when you plan, there's something about a plan that barely feels real, and people even talk about how you should worry less about the plan and maybe focus more on being actionable within a plan. But I'm very grateful that I just sat down and forced myself to continuously write out my plan and immerse myself in it so that I could have more direction. So all of those things are momentum. And now it's also important that humility is maintained. Patience and humility. As I go throughout this day, it is Friday, I need to record a podcast because I have minimum expectations for myself per week. I need to record a podcast. I also need to keep the momentum going, and I need to be low like water. I need to be humble. Don't get too high, don't get too low, just keep the momentum going. Just finished with a podcast. While I was recording I bought a new cord and I think the cord messed up, but the visual stopped working like halfway through. And I actually didn't even realize it. So I recorded pretty much, not the whole thing, but about 75% of it when I realized that the visual wasn't working about halfway through. So I had to go back and basically pick up where it stopped recording and finish it. Could I have went back and recorded literally the whole thing? Yes. But actually no. Because that isn't how I operate. Every time I turn on a camera, the way that I think about it is the red button on my camera, record, is live. It means that I'm going live to the whole world right in that moment. The whole world right in that moment. Can't take it back, can't delete it, can't do anything. You're live. So part of the reason why I do that is because that's what I like regarding other people's content. When it's genuine, when it's from the heart, and if it's overly prepared, meaning if I recorded it once and then literally went back and recorded it again, there'd be a vibe to it, like it's manufactured, like it's forced, like it's overly planned. So I picked up where the visual went off, recorded the rest of it, It's kind of difficult though, because I was going off. I was in a flow state. Whether it's writing or whether it's recording a podcast or whether it's even working out, you end up getting into a flow state and you kind of just forget everything else exists. You're just in that moment because there's so much to focus on in that moment. You can't focus on anything else. You can't focus on the past or the future. You literally just focus on what you're talking about. And I will say it was kind of difficult to get back into a flow state. Maybe somebody would watch it and be like, oh, he did not get back into the flow state. So I'm just being honest because it's on me. It's certainly on me, but it is important to me as well. If it weren't important to me, I wouldn't do it. And so the aspect of it that's important to me is to make it as high quality as possible. And then when I record a podcast today, obviously it won't be perfect. I'm inadequate as a podcaster. I'm early on the way. So I'm in training. I'm trying to get my skills better. So I try to at least make the next podcast better than the previous one. That's my goal. Make tomorrow better than yesterday. Continuously make tomorrow better than yesterday. And the topic was really good. The flow state that I was in was really good. I think it might have been reached even at the end of the podcast, but nonetheless, what's going through my mind right now is that I just have to be better. I have to figure out a way to not let that happen again, because by not letting that happen again, that's how I reach the highest quality. So now I'm about to go back to a coffee shop, going to do some computer work. I'm going to immerse myself in planning again today. I'm going to upload this podcast. I'm going to eat a healthy meal. And that's what it is. And we'll go from there. I went back and watched the podcast that I recorded. I will say it wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible. And truthfully, it's better than the initial podcasts that I was recording. It's much better than the initial podcasts I was recording years ago. But the problem is there's something in my mind that I want to say. It's like a vision, but it's also words, but I don't really see the words. It's just like a point that needs to be made. And so as I go back and rewatch it, it's like the thing that was in my mind, the thing I was trying to convey, didn't translate perfectly into the podcast. So I've got something inside of me, an idea, a point, something that I believe is important. Otherwise I wouldn't have said it, and I wouldn't ever say anything. But I do believe it's important. And the medium, some people use a guitar, some people use paint. To get what's inside of me out, and it has to get out, I use words. But there's a gap. So here's what I was trying to say. Here is the level to which it came out of me. And there's a massive gap in between those two things. Maybe not a massive gap, but yeah, a gap that's too big. And that gap is, I don't know, I've just been thinking about it, and now it's just been on my mind, and I'm like, well, how did that happen? How do I bridge the gap between where I am at to where I want to be. And I'll also say, do I want people to listen to it? Do I want people to watch it? Yes, of course. But do I care if people listen to it? Do I care if people watch it? No. I cannot concern myself with that because it doesn't matter. Because it's has nothing to do with me. It's so far out of my control. If anybody else, it doesn't matter who it is, that person is not me. Anybody could choose to watch the things I make. They could choose not to. But it's not in my control. It has nothing to do with me. So I can't care about that. Now, regarding what I do, there's the value to myself, which is, among other things, you could say to be a better man. The most important one, to be a better person, be a better man. And the value relative to anybody who would watch it, my hope would be that they receive value from it. So if somebody were to tell me that they receive value from something that I said, that'd be incredibly positive. But truthfully, it's essentially the same thing. If somebody were to not like something I said and give me feedback about that, that would be maybe just as good. It'd be nearly as good. Because my ultimate goal is growth. So I say that because to illuminate the fact that it's not that I don't care if people, it's not that I don't want people to watch it, but I just can't care because it has nothing, that has nothing to do with me. However, it is important. I am doing it, so I want it to be the highest quality possible. I need to bridge that gap and control what's in my control. And if I myself were to go back and watch it, there have been times where maybe you could say I've exceeded my own expectations. And I've watched it and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I like this. And again, it's not that this one was really bad, but there just is a gap between what is inside of me, the point that I'm trying to make, and after watching it, the articulation of it, the translation just wasn't perfect. It's like if there's a language inside of me and then I'm trying to put it in English, like there's aspects that are lost in translation. So it's on me. I'm not upset about it. I'm not distraught about it. It's just like, this too it's a mathematical formula. I'm like, all right, what was the final product? What was my intention for it to be? What happened that made it the final product that it was versus what I have inside of me, my intention? So that's what's important. And when I do exceed my own expectations, or when I do create something that I myself see as good, I don't bask in it over the course of days. I don't bask in it over the course of days. I feel something like affirmation that I'm on the right path. I'm good to go for that day. I have something I can hang my hat on for that day. And then I move on because I know that I have to do it better tomorrow. I have to keep going, otherwise there'll be a fall. But when that gap exists, which part of it is my own expectations, it's not that deep. I just have to figure out how to close that gap, is the point that I'm trying to make. I have to control the things that are in my control. I have to get better. As with anything else, I have to get better. So now I'm about to eat this meal. I'm gonna go train. Training will help. I'll clear my mind. I will digest. Yeah, I just have to reorient. If I sound confused, it's because I'm recording this in the midst of a problem, which is, again, that gap. I have to close that gap. Whether or not people watch it, that's on them, but whether or not it's the highest quality that I am capable of, that is on me. So I'm in a mathematical formula right now. I'm playing chess, I'm playing Sudoku, I'm doing poker in my mind, and I'm trying to figure out how to close the gap.